John Stewart is not the champion you think he is. Let's take it back into time. You may have been a youngster watching the Justice League cartoon back in '02 from 20 years ago. That character that was Green Lantern, they selected John Stewart. You probably go, yeah, and you're like me, yeah, that's the Green Lantern. When I think of the Green Lantern, I know there's a core, every planet's got the representative, but John's the one on the Justice League, and he's the guy. Find out he's not primary. There's a Justice League animated movie universe that it starts a little bit later, a few years later, and they decided to go with Hal Jordan. I'm talking about the New 52. Hal is primary. Now, notice I didn't say first. Alan Scott was first, but the one that they go with time after time is Hal Jordan. When they needed to make a movie with Ryan Reynolds, it was Hal Jordan. The Green Lantern franchise main character is Hal. In Justice Leagues, they're going to decide to do a Green Lantern. And luckily for you, as a person who was a fan of John, you got the black guy. You got John Stewart. But if we're talking black representation, he is not it. The Green Lantern animated series, after the Justice League cartoon, they went with Hal Jordan. You see how one little blip in the period of time, they went with John Stewart. That doesn't have any effect on the rest. Every single time they decide to do a Justice League, they will look at their roster and they'll say, well, we need to have a Green Lantern in the Justice League, right? Cool. Which one are we going to choose? Hal or John or the other 16 who are irrelevant? They're not going to get chosen. It's between those two. Should they go with the white guy? They go, well, our whole entire Justice League is not, it's all white. What we do? We're not racist over here. Cyborg, which is what Jeff Johns did. I'm not criticizing that, but at least Cyborg is primary within his own franchise. Are there other cyborgs actually? I wouldn't know the answer to that question. I don't read DC Comics. Surely, if there's like a million Flashes, bazillion Supermans, and Brazilian Robins, there probably is another cyborg. Victor's the main guy. Lead with characters who are leads within their franchise. If you are a fan, I don't care how many comics you've read of John Stewart, you have to accept that he will always have this uphill battle, this obstacle of, well, which one do we choose? That one or that one? Every executive in every studio from now until forever. How do you not look at the last 20 years and not use time, a history, as a way to advise the future? Pretend there's a timeline that I'm drawing right here. So let me start from this side. These are the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, all the way to 2023, which we're in now. John Stewart was primary here. And then the major medias using Green Lantern went with Hal Jordan. How isn't it drilling in your head that maybe John Stewart gets used by James Gunn because he's got to prove he's not racist? He's got to use somebody black. Shout out Mr. Terrific, who is primary. Although there was another Mr. Terrific, the one that they go with is the black one. But if John Stewart is selected by James Gunn in this movie franchise, cool. DC Studios is gung ho with John Stewart. Look at them being not racist. They're so progressive. Look at their, you put your left foot in, you put your left foot out, you do the blacks and you shake it all about. They're doing the blacks. That's what you're doing. Representation. They're on screen, therefore represented. I'm looking at that timeline, which I stopped here at 2023. What about 33? What about 43? What about 53, 63, 73? Are they leading with John Stewart? No. There's always going to be this like dodgeball in gym class where you're selecting your people, and someone is going to choose Hal Jordan over John Stewart, and they're not going to have two Green Lanterns on a Justice League, are they? Did you just answer yes to that question? You need help if you did. They're always going to choose one. John's not the guy. Icon and Rocket are the guy. If Batman and, let me use a more character that's recent. If a Deadpool could be nothing, invented in the 90s, and all of a sudden he gets to the Deadpool status that he's at, the same can be performed with a push. The same can be executed for Static, Icon and Rocket, for Hardware, Mr. Terrific. I brought up Vixen. These exist. Push them, create the next big superhero who happens to have dark skin and doesn't have to be chosen between one and the other. That's my take on these things. I, everything applies for Miles Morales Spider-Man also. Guy needs to change his name to something original. Maybe dig into the power set that he's got that is unique from Peter Parker Spider-Man and be his own thing. Move out of New York. Be your own guy. Stand on your own 2 feet. Individuality is your key to success. You will always be secondary. Now, during the live stream I just did on Saturday, Sean brought up from the Comics Pals. While we were talking about Rhodey and War Machine, Sam Wilson Falcon came up. More comics will sell with Captain America than they will with Falcon. We only know that because it happened. Who was the writer on that series? Was it not Rick Remender, was it? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the guy who wrote the Falcon series, which only went 8 issues, was Rodney Barnes. No disrespect to you, Rodney Barnes. You are not the top tier writer. We can say that they sell more when they've got a bigger writer, just as easy as we can say they'll sell more when they're using the bigger name, Captain America. Captain America. What would we need? What we would need to contrast is for Marvel to do both, or for DC to do both. It hasn't happened. I believe in the power of a writer. Mantles like the Green Lantern are mantles. I don't feel like they rub off on other people the same way I don't feel the Black Panther mantle rubs off on other people. Shout out to T'Challa, the Black Panther from 2018, that movie, and the progression that it made and the popularity that he's increased to on my chart, which I always, you guys might as well see the chart. I should like superimpose a chart of just lists because I always seem to point here. So on my chart here, the top tier characters happen to all be white in Marvel. Somewhere around that number 10 spot, you got T'Challa. Unfortunately, the actor died. They decided not to recast, and they killed T'Challa. T'Challa's not gonna be in the movies. Prime T'Challa, not the T'Child. Then they're gonna use Shuri as Black Panther. Okay, cool. So let's have Shuri raise in popularity, not too high because her movie only made 3/5 of what the first movie made. So that's where Wakanda Forever got Shuri up to. Cool. Then there's gonna be Toussaint, the child who they introduced, and they'll probably start using him for a couple years. And then the MCU is over. It'll be phase 10 complete. Reboot. We're back to phase 1. Who are they going to use for the Black Panther franchise, you numbnuts? They're going to use T'Challa. Well, this actor didn't die. We didn't even cast him yet. Okay, so in the hard reboots, just how DC is rebooting now with their films, who are they going to use? T'Challa. All this time that we wasted because people happen to live in bubbles and not realize or have foresight could have been to T'Challa challenging the status quo of all white characters, and we don't have that. All the time you could have with John Stewart or with a black character challenging the status quo of DC's white characters, which are all up here. It might even be longer because they don't got Storm or T'Challa, but all of DC's top characters are white. We went with John Stewart. Look at us. We're not racist at all. We're the progressive company called DC. John Stewart could be pulled in a heartbeat. It has happened before. It will happen again. Where the next movie studio executive president likes Hal Jordan more than he likes John, treats Hal more important than John, may not even use John. John Stewart's not your champion. He's not the one. Give up on John Stewart. Celebrate Vixen and the other black superheroes who are their own. Want for them what happened with Deadpool. Acting like John Stewart. I don't care how many comics you guys have. Stop it, okay? Get some help. He's not the one. I'm explaining to you word for word. I'm breaking down time and what history has taught me and has shown me. Anyone who shares the name is Monica Rambeau. Shout out to the name Photon. Shout out to the name Spectrum. Anything but Captain Marvel. She does not need to share a name. Someone, Skip and Tosh, told me something recently where he goes, well, it means something that the name Marvel is behind Captain Marvel. And that's why, she was the first Captain Marvel. Theo also is someone who believes this stuff too. I disagree. The name of Captain Marvel is just a name. It is useless. There are other Marvels. There's Ms. Marvel. There's what's a Marvel girl. There's even a Marvel boy. Who are these people? They've got the name Marvel behind them. Blue Marvel hasn't been in a comic book in years. He's got a name Marvel. Are they behind him? Being the captain of a Marvel is useless. It is nothing. It is weightless. There's not a country called Marvel. There's not a power set associated with Marvel. You don't even got to wear the same outfit, costume if you're the Captain Marvel. All that meant that she became Captain Marvel was because after Marvel had died and the company called Marvel owned that name, well, we got to use it, or else we'll lose the trademark. So I'll just give it to that one. It is the most unthoughtful thing ever. She was Captain Marvel. Do you guys think that the movie that was called Captain Marvel in 2019, Kevin Feige was like, "Oh, we're gonna do a Captain Marvel movie. Let's open a comic and see who's Captain Marvel there. Look, it's Carol. I guess that's the movie we're doing." That is not how it happened. That's a fake. That's an imaginative scenario. Captain Marvel, the name, she was the first, and it was a black woman, not a white woman. That doesn't equate to other times in real life history where people have been mistreated. There's no equation. There's no like equal beat for beat. It's nothing. The Carol didn't take anything from Monica. Literally, physically did not take her. There's no story where she took anything from her. It's just a name. The name Captain Marvel literally is just a name. There's no villain who's a Captain Marvel villain. You're Captain Marvel. Okay, go. I'm gonna fight you now. That doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. Individuality is key. Now Monica's going with Photon. We want that. John Stewart is going by Emerald Knight right now. I hope that sticks. Better than being called Green Lantern. I'm for. He still has a lot of Green Lantern he needs to rub off, and then we got to read how the story plays out. But John Stewart as Green Lantern is not the champion. I'm doing this on January of 2023. The Emerald Knight stuff hasn't finished. We know that comics return to the status quo all the time, but so I'm in a vacuum. I can't really speak on that and how that experiment goes. Better than Green Lantern. Do you disagree with me? Especially on the the Captain Marvel Monica Rambeau stuff. Do you disagree there? Check out the Photon Friday live stream. There will be an individual video cut out of my 33 burning questions where we just talk about the Rhodey War Machine stuff and the ceiling for that character, which exists. And you can look out for that probably tomorrow.